Welcome everyone to Aeos Clubhouse. This is Aeos Clubhouse number 7 for August 31st, the day before Blastoise. But we'll talk about that in a moment. We have a special guest today, but before we do that, welcome to the usual guests, the people you know, the people you love, Kiyberries, Mochrie. Welcome to you both.
Hello. How are we doing today?
Hey.
Guy's stress is just...
Yeah, we're hopping into this like 20 minutes late because someone, Carter's, sorry, I had a little cough right there, with the audio issues.
It's going to be okay. We're all going to make it, and we all made it. We have a guest today, Shoddy to Hottie, or Shot, as you might know them. Shot, would you like to introduce yourself? Tell the audience a little bit about yourself and your absolutely amazing achievement and the hours that you did it in, perhaps.
I don't know if I'd call it an absolute achievement. But anyway, hi, I'm Shoddy to Hottie, or Shot. If you know me from HOTS, I'm Shot. I used to play professionally Heroes of the Storm, won 2016 Heroes of the Dorm. Now I'm transferred over to Pokemon UNITE, trying to make a competitive career for myself. Currently a free agent. I have 4 accounts in Masters currently. I'm working on my 5th. Highest peak points wise on my main right now, which is relatively low considering I spend so much time on my Smurfs, is 1500. So not the greatest, but not the worst either. But yeah, I'm just a competitive player and I play this game way too much. My achievement that Kyle was alluding to was I played on stream unranked to Masters with no credit card or real life money dumped into the game, a completely free to play account for 32 hours and 50 minutes. 32 hours 50 minutes it took me to get from a fresh account to Masters.
Wow. Did you stop as soon as you got to Masters, or was there
I instantly turned off my stream.
I figure. Oh my goodness. So you currently have 4 accounts in the Masters zone.
Yes.
And we're going to pick your brain a little bit because there's a lot of people who want to get to Masters for all those sweet tickets. But before we do so, we also do need to announce another Master in the room, which is Kiyberries. Congratulations, Kai.
Yeah, and Dot was there for that. For those final few games. We were a duo cute, but thank you. Magical and wonderful, and I'm so excited.
I don't know why you bring me up. You literally carried those games.
I don't know.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
that.
like, Shot was tired by Master number 4, so he needed someone like Kiyberries to step in.
I think you were on Shoddy's 6 Hottie at that point, right?
Oh, you numbered them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
So for backstory for the listeners, Shoddy to Hottie has a deeply clever naming scheme with much thought put into it, where he simply increments the number in his name every time he makes an account. So it's Shoddy 2 Hottie, 3 Hottie, 4 Hottie, and so forth ad infinitum.
I'm currently at 6.
Yeah,
Shoddy
I
6
thought you were
Hottie.
on Shoddy's 6 Hottie for the final game. Hopefully nobody catches on to your naming.
Dude, I've been expecting to run into like Shoddy 8 Hottie randomly on like the ladder or something, but nothing's happened yet. I'm not
like,
big enough, so which is good. I need my accounts.
Before we got our YouTube custom URL for Aeos Clubhouse, and we like mentioned it a few times on the show, I was like, oh no, we've said it a few times. Someone else will come in with their YouTube account and snipe Aeos Clubhouse and keep it hostage from us.
Yeah.
Which thankfully did not happen. We were able to nab it, but it was a legitimate concern of mine for a while.
So why did this happen? How did you got to Masters and you said to yourself, I need 3 more of these?
Oh, okay. So actually what happened, so when I first hit Master, it was during the patch where Master points were like really messed up. If you played solo queue, you would almost always go against 5 stacks every single game because everyone was like so close to each other in ranking. So you'd almost always play against 5 stacks. But if you won, you got like 3 points, 4 points, and if you lost like 28. So it wasn't worth solo queuing at all. I mean, it was almost not worth 5-man queuing unless you were guaranteed to win with like a really good stack. So since I didn't have a 5-stack at the time, I decided to just start making Smurfs and getting them to Masters, because like I don't want to play for 3 hours, win games consecutively, then lose one game and lose that 3 hours of gameplay that I just put in. So I started making Smurfs. Then I joined a competitive team at one point, but the competitive team didn't want to play as much as I wanted to play or practice as hard as I wanted to practice. So I thought to myself, you see me get canceled there? I suck. But anyway, they didn't want to practice as hard as I wanted to practice. So I decided to like go on my own, become a free agent, look for another team. And while I've been a free agent, I've just decided to start spamming, master accounts, just because I think it's a cute achievement. It's a cute little gimmick that I have.
Like some like General Grievous.
Yeah, exactly. So I just think it's like a fun little challenge to do every now and then. And if I have the most accounts in Masters, that's a kind of a cool thing to have under my belt.
Absolutely.
All right, let's be honest. We're all content creators here, okay? We all know the game. All right.
It's for the content.
It's always easy to be like, do I need to come up with fresh, original content to reinvigorate the masses and teach people? Or can I just rehash another Bronze to Master stream?
Like using this though, when people do the thing where they're like, "This game is pay to win," and I'm like, "Well, yeah, look at Shoddy Too Hottie, 6 accounts in Master, all free to play." Maybe it's a you problem.
I do want to make it really clear. The team that I left, I love that team. Like I love all of my ex teammates.
You can't unopen Pandora's box.
No. I really want to make sure that people understand. I loved my teammates. They just didn't have the same amount of time that I had to put into the game, and I just needed to find people who have the same amount of no life as I do.
Absolutely. You know? Well, the team has to gel in more ways than one. I feel like I take issue with calling it a Smurf account at this point, though. Is it really? Can you Smurf a game that's this fresh? Like, are people?
I mean, I'm literally beating up on beginners, so
okay.
I would argue yes, it's a Smurf account.
I guess so.
I do feel bad when I do it, but I'm trying to do it as quickly as humanly possible, so I'm not bothering them for too long. You know what I mean?
What? So you said it was what's the VOD here? It's a 33 hour VOD that you got here.
Yep.
Is that what people should expect to take a fresh account? Like, can you look at your account and say, oh, I put 7 hours in this, only 25 more to go?
So that was 32 hours straight playing. So obviously I wasn't optimally playing towards the end of the stream because I was so tired. I hadn't slept. I was on like my 7th cup of coffee. My gameplay did drop a little bit, but I would say like for the average player, if you were to make a new account and want to get to Masters, I would say probably 36 hours is what you could expect to get Masters. That was a 65% win rate that I had. So
wow.
Yeah, that kind of mirrors my experiences because I just have the one account. And I took stats of it the second I hit Master, just because I felt that it was good to keep that kind of stuff. And it took me, with a 63% win rate, I want to say 25 and a half hours of game time. Like, assuming every game is 10 minutes, I just sort of multiplied it out by the number of games.
Yeah.
And it was 25 and a half hours. But that's only in game, So
yeah, obviously my 32 hours includes, draft and queue and stuff.
All that, yeah.
Okay, right. Did you feel the lack of the credit card? Because that was obviously part of the gimmick in this giant stream you did.
Yeah, I mean, not really, because this was like my 4th account getting into Masters, so I have done this before. On my Smurfs, I typically don't use any credit card because I'd rather not waste money on an account that
hold on. You'd rather not waste money. Tell me again what you told me the other day. How much money have you spent on this game? Mister, I'd rather not waste money.
I'd rather not waste money on accounts that I'm not going to use as my main Mochrie, first of all. Second of all, if you need to know, I've dropped $250 on this stupid
The
game.
truth comes out.
Wowie.
That was only for level 30 items. Like that was all it was
okay.
dedicated
I was
to.
trying to think what you had spent the money on, but that makes
All
No,
for
you gotta
items. I didn't buy a
the
single
entire battle
character.
pass to get Captain Cinderace.
I literally
That's
didn't buy a
the
single
answer.
character. I don't even think I bought the battle pass, which is probably stupid on my part. I probably should have bought it. But I literally only bought gems and then converted them into tokens for items.
And on your
Okay.
Smurfs, that probably the free to play probably isn't as felt because you know exactly what items you're going to be getting in the first place. Then you're not experimenting at all. You're not going
Yeah.
around like you did on your first
Yeah.
account.
Yeah, when
There's
on
some
my
items that I bought, and I'm just like, ugh, you know, a little now.
yeah, there are 3 specific items that I always try to rush. I try to rush Buddy Barrier, obviously, because it's the most broken item in the game. I try to rush Focus Sash because I think Focus Sash is like passive or active, or like when you hit that certain amount of health threshold and the healing is just so good, and the defensives that it gives you is just like so valuable throughout the entire game. And then Score Shield. It's Score Shield's not really as good on like squishy characters like Venusaur, Pikachu, Cinderace, Greninja, whatever. But it's really good on like melee characters, support characters, and tank characters. So anytime that I play any of those, it'll work out. Also, sometimes it works on those squishy characters if I'm going for a back cap and all they have is the launch pad to stop me.
Did you said the focus band was the middle one there?
Yes.
So
Focus band.
So what does it give in addition to its HP thing that it does?
So it doesn't actually give HP as stats. It heals you, but
Okay.
other than that, its stats are physical defense and special defense.
And I believe it's the
Oh.
only item in the game to offer both of those.
Interesting. Okay.
And those stats are really under I think the general community doesn't understand how important those stats actually are. They make you a tanky monster.
Yeah,
And then-
because Blissy's got about as much HP as Snorlax, but you know, you play the game and Blissey feels a lot squishier because those defensive stats just aren't there.
And that would make perfect sense now why I'm seeing over the weekend those Blissey master accounts started switching over to the focus band and dropping some other defense. I've even seen rock helmets in there and stuff. But
it makes perfect sense if you've got a lot of HP, but not much in the way of defensive stats. Well, then the item with defensive stats and percentage-based max HP regen, that's exactly what a character like Blissey would want.
Mm-hmm. I would 100% take Focus Band on Blissey. Actually, I literally take those 3 items on Blissey: Buddy Barrier, Focus Band, and Score Shield. I don't think EXP share is worth it right now for supports.
Okay, that's been probably the most polarizing item in the game. Yeah, a whole lot of people are like, "Oh, does it do anything? Is it worth it?" I've heard so much discourse about that.
I mean, I just think Score Shield is too broken not to take. So, and you have to take Focus and Buddy. So it's like, do you take Score Shield or do you take EXP share? And Score Shield's just way too broken in the current meta of the game. So you have to take Score Shield.
Okay. Now
we're getting way too into like the weeds. I'm sorry.
No.
Okay,
These weeds are great. These are great weeds.
I take it back just a little bit. I will say, just on the previous topic, we're talking about playing free to play, that kind of thing. I feel like the game isn't necessarily that pay to win. Like, obviously, you get an advantage, but you know, we talked about this episode like 1 or 2, I think 2 or 3, about like how it's not that much of an advantage. But I do think, with my singular 1 account experience, and I'm just curious if you can corroborate this or not, it does seem to me like the battle pass, that $4 battle pass, is like a huge investment. Like I would consider that, with all the tickets and the item enhancers, like that value seems insane. So even if you can get there with that master, to me it seems like a must buy. But what are your thoughts on that?
So even on my main, I literally never bought the battle pass. So I'm probably griefing and missing out on like a lot of free just currency in the game. Not like, Aeos coins, but like tokens and stuff like that for
Yeah.
items.
It's
I'm
much more
probably missing out a
economical than
ton.
just buying the
I should probably just drop $4 on my main right now, actually. Speaking of, let me boot up my Switch real quick.
You probably should. It gives you so much free stuff. Like if you spent that much on item enhancers.
Yeah,
it
listen,
gives you
Kai,
that.
I probably
There you
griefed,
go.
okay? All right, Kai? I probably messed up. You don't gotta rub it in.
Yeah, I'm on like I've missed about probably by my estimate like 5 days out of the battle pass so far since release, and I'm at like level 86 out of 90. I'm on the cusp of Captain Cinderace. I'm so
Wow.
close, so ready for it.
You could just buy the remaining tiers.
I'm literally right there. Am I so impatient? I
All
can't.
this money you're spending on this game. You got Saudi oil baron money here.
I can't delay gratification for like 3 days.
Call that unemployment check, baby.
So we talked.
Stimulus check? Nah, battle pass levels.
Yeah, the stimulus check is what funds my Pokemon Unite career.
So we talked about the score shield being now, and I've seen this as well on the items that people are really starting to switch over to score shield. Before, people weren't really sure if it had any value or if they were going to be the one turning in enough. You mentioned off air to us a little bit. What happened? If you can describe the meta shift that has happened over the last, 5 days? Is this brand new, or did this sneak up over time?
No, okay, so coming from a competitive background, we all kind of knew score shield was like, am I allowed to curse on this show? BS.
Well done.
I will avoid cursing my best of my ability. So yeah, we all kind of knew that score shield was a little bit of BS, but we didn't think it was like overbearing, and we're like, oh, only tanks or like melee characters will take this. It won't be that big of a deal. But recently, things have just started to evolve into this. Oh, if you have score shield and you have like 20-ish points, not a full capture, but like 20-ish points, 15-ish points, people can literally not stop you from turning in with score shield if you are a tanky enough character or like have a high enough health pool, like Blissey, Crustle, Snorlax, Lucario, any of these characters or etc. Like those characters, 15 to 20 points, you can just score in front of everybody. It doesn't matter because they can't break the shield fast enough to stop you. So what has developed is this, in my opinion, a really unhealthy meta where people are just playing like Crustle backdoor because he gets so much value from score shield and he's so slippery. He can just like run away from any situation with a shell smash. So Crustle will literally just farm everything, ignore objectives, ignore his team in team fights, and just farm and then cap over and over and over again. If someone comes to stop him and can stop him, he just runs to the other lane and caps behind the team that's not paying attention. Or if there's 4 people on a point and he wants to cap on that point, he can just walk up, ult, and then start capping because score shield stacks on top of shields. So you have to break the entirety of Crustle's ult shield before you can stop him from capping.
Yep, so yeah, any shield that you have on, for those who are not 100% on how it works, a score shield, it gives you a shield based on your max health while you are turning in, and you cannot be interrupted or even CC'd out of turning in until you are without a shield whatsoever. But the thing is, that's again, like Shot said, any shield counts for this. And Crustle has, Crustle not only has the slipperiness, the extra move speed from Shell Smash here, but the ult is a massive self shield as well. So if you ult and then walk up, not even a full team, just like you said, can interrupt you. And I know I'm kind of rehashing what you said there, but I just wanted to be 100% on how,
for sure,
on everybody and how the item works.
Yeah, and then also to add on to that, like when you ult as Crustle, like say you're doing the lame kind of, I'm gonna walk into 5 people, ult, and then turn in, your buddy barrier also adds to that shield.
I like hanging out with people as Eldegoss because Cotton Guard is.
Yeah,
I'll follow
exactly.
them for that too. I'm like, here you go, bud.
That was the original meta, Kai. It was people that had score shield. You'd walk up as a team, and then when you when you start capping or before you start capping, Eldegoss would call her shield cooldown and then use it right before everyone would start capping. So they all had a score shield with an additional shield on top of it.
Oh, that's so funny. I just, I mostly play with random. So when I just see like a Crustle or another tank slithering up towards the point, I know what's about to happen, and it's like, let me come contribute to this BM.
Yeah,
Oh.
it's pretty rough. I think score shield is actually in a really unhealthy place because it's like promotes not fighting. Like if you look on stream right now,
Yeah.
I'm literally just ignoring people and turning points in.
I'm just watching, just for those of us who are only hearing the audio side of things, Shoddy 5 Hottie walked in past 3 people to go directly to their core, their final turn in, and shell smashed for the move speed, and then just 3 stop you? Who cares? Didn't even need to pop ult or anything. Score shield, baby.
Wow.
So I will
Yeah.
ask a question about this, though, Shot. As I've been watching your footage here that we have, I can't help but notice the ability combos that you have here. You've opted for Shell Smash into Stealth Rock, whereas I know every Crustle that I see on ladder goes Shell Smash into X Scissor. And I'm wondering, can you talk about the logic that goes into this build? Is this what you recommend? What's the thought process?
Yeah, so this is honestly the fastest way to farm with stealth rocks. And there's a funny mechanic with stealth rocks. Some dev thought it would be funny if Crustle's abilities all could crit. So naturally the community or the tryhard community goes, oh, we can crit, let's start taking scope lens on Crustle, which is a thing. The correct Crustle build right now is Buddy Barrier, Scope Lens, Score Shield.
Beautiful.
You do that, and then like for bees, you just throw stealth rocks at it. It should clear the small bees by the time like you just throw in a couple autos. The small bees should like almost instantly die.
And your
and then
auto attacks at melee range also cleave, so your ability to clear out bee camps, anything with multiple spawns, just
and then
so fast.
And then also, Stealth Rocks enables you to actually help your team with objectives once. And what I mean by that is you can walk up to like if your team is next to you and just starts an objective, you can throw Stealth Rocks, then leave and go farm. And you're still helping them do it.
Like a mage, just walk up, drop your damage abilities, and then just walk away.
Exactly. And then your entire goal is to just farm as much as humanly possible, steal the enemy jungle, just dump points whenever you can. If you for our live viewers on stream, you see how I'm usually only turning in like 11, 15, 20 points. That's because I don't want my turn-ins to be too long where people can break my score shield.
Yeah, no, that's the really really intense thing about seeing this. One, it's insanely busy, which is nice to see because the higher you go in rank, it should look more busy, more stutter stepping, more things happening, less people standing around. But I find without this score shield business, I'm often sitting on max points. I don't really have a way to actually go turn in that Aeos energy. I have to wait for certain elements to come together, whether it's enough Pokemon knocked out on the enemy side or enough people to help me push up that far. What you're doing is slithering around the enemy side basically constantly, turning in a little bit, then running off and doing it again. And it actually is more farm than you would have reaching max and then going for a big team organized turn in.
And Kyle, I'm denying the enemy team XP.
Because you're taking their wild Pokemon as you do this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you're able to do this safer than almost any other character with Crustle's unique blend of tankiness and speed with Shell Smash, which I think is absurd, by the way.
Yeah, I want to go on record that this is the most unhealthy playstyle for the game.
Like, I just love that coming into Unite, it's like, oh, who's going to be the fastest? Oh, I don't know. Let's look around at the characters. Maybe Zeraora, maybe Cinderace or something. And then you get in, and there's this giant, lumbering, hulking crab with a rock mass on its back. And it's like, yep, that's the fastest guy. That's
Yeah,
the guy that seems around.
it's kind of ridiculous. Kyle, can I get up on my soapbox real quick?
Okay, go for it.
So I said just like a little bit ago, like 2 sentences ago, I said I think this is the most unhealthy play style for the game, and I genuinely believe this. What I mean by unhealthy is I think that this play style literally ruins the game for 9 other players in the game. The one player who's playing Crustle is having a blast. They're, they're juking people. They're getting out of these sticky situations that they shouldn't get out of. They're kind of being a nuisance. Sometimes they just steal objectives with stealth rocks because it's funny. And sometimes you just get a crit. Sometimes you just kill people because they stand in stealth rocks for too long, or you just crit them somehow. Like, it's funny for the Crustle player. All 9 other players, unless they have a Crustle player, so let's say all 8 other players, are not enjoying it because like they're grouping up for team fights. They're getting ready to fight the enemy team. And then the team that has the Crustle player, all they have to do is slowly dance back and not really commit to anything and make the fight extend as long as humanly possible so that the Crustle player is getting value. And it's not fun, in my opinion.
I want to shoot to Kai because you just got to Masters. Did you see this developing, or is this...
I've only seen someone commit hard to this like maybe 1 or 2 times. Like, I haven't seen that many slithery, sneaky Crustles. People trying to backdoor like this, sure, but it's not always Crustle. It could be because I'm just too low master points. Or I don't know, I've just gotten lucky or unlucky. The times I've seen it though, I actually think it's hilarious when it's on my team. I think it's super funny. I like to either give them the shield or just, I think it's kind of fun to engage in a team fight. Crustle's not there, but the longer you delay the enemy team, the longer Crustle's doing weird Crustle stuff. And I did think it was funny on our end for our team, but I haven't seen it a whole lot. And it could be because I'm a baby master.
Well, it sounds like as the support player in that situation, it's adding an element of uniqueness that is causing you to play differently. So in that way, I guess we're only ruining 8 people's games.
It's because I'm the support player, so like what's going on in the jungle often isn't my problem anyway. The person who thought they were playing jungle, like the Cinderace or whoever, might be a little salty about that. That might be a Mochrie. You've ever had a Crustle steal your jungle? I don't know.
Well, I was actually about to ask about that because I haven't played the character much myself, even though I got it for free pretty early on. Shot, what are you doing as far as lane distribution goes for our Crustles? Where are you putting that Crustle? What do you want to pair it with if it's in that side lane? Talk about that.
So I definitely lane with Crustle. I don't think you can't really give up the jungle for a Crustle. It's not worth it in any way, shape, or form. Because you want that hyper carry to be like as high as level as humanly possible, as quick as possible.
And by hyper carry, you're referring to Cinderace and Greninja, I believe?
Yep, those are the only 2 characters in the game that should ever jungle. Fight me. That's not true. Zeraora is a really good jungler. It's just like the meta currently usually has like the 80 carry quote unquote characters in the jungle. Now Japan would disagree. Japan plays a lot of Zeraora jungle because they think like Zeraora is like overtuned and like a really good character, and I kind of agree with them, but at the same time I like having an 80 carry character. So it's just kind of play style dependent. But Japan definitely plays Zeraora. But anyway, back to Crustle and like laning. I like to throw him top because the reason why I like to throw him top is because Dreadnought spawns, right? And everyone's like, okay, gotta rotate to Dreadnought. Guess what? I'm top. I get to farm everything and just start capping in your face. Like, I'm not gonna rotate. Why would I?
And so if you find yourself in a situation where your Crustle is staying top, you've got 4 bot, they rotated 5, then conventional mobile logic would dictate that at that point your job is not so much to seriously as the bot lane, not the Crustle by itself, but as the 4-man versus 5 in the bot lane, your job is to not seriously try to get that Dreadnought, but do what you can to waste the other team's time, right? Or are you just looking to break off for farm in that scenario?
No, you're 100% correct on the former. You're definitely supposed to like try to like tussle a little bit, but don't fully commit to a fight because you just want to waste their time. If you can steal the Dreadnought, fantastic. But 9 times out of 10, your team will lose that Dreadnought. Like it's just like number advantage. It's really hard. But it doesn't really matter because Crustle just gave you like an 80-point advantage. So, and also when Crustle,
Oh, look at him. I'm sorry, but look how cute he is. Oh my god.
yeah, but when Crustle's done giving you like that small point advantage, he can just start Rotom if you guys are still fighting over Dreadnought. And Stealth Rocks does Rotom pretty quickly. It takes about 3 or 4 rotations of Stealth Rocks, and Stealth Rocks are up pretty often. So I missed that. That was awkward. But anyway, it's just you get Rotom, and then that Rotom will then apply more pressure. You can continue giving pressure, and even if you're down like 2 levels of XP across your whole team, you still have like 150, 200 point lead. Like you have the room where you can get that catch-up experience that we all know too well in this game for your team to like get back into this game.
And having a point lead means the enemy team is pressured in how they approach the late game, and they feel obligated to take Zapdos.
Yeah, it is. So we're basically doing an expose on degeneracy here.
Yes,
But-
100%. This is the most degenerate playstyle you can play.
But I think that's really important for this stage in the game. If we were, a year, 2 into this game and we hadn't seen updates and we were just harping like this might be a very negative show, but I don't feel like it is that because we are highlighting something that can change and should change in this case.
Dude, believe me, I'm all about these strats. In HOTS, I regularly played strats that got me hate mail all the time.
Tracer main, by the way.
Yeah. No, I was a Tracer main, and I duoed so much with a Tassadar player that I met online that we went to each other's weddings as our groomsmen for each other. And we met over Heroes of the Storm. That's how much we duoed this comp that everyone else just hated to play against. And I think, in my very biased opinion, that it can be good to sort of push the envelope and do these comps that people hate and not mentally lock yourself out of certain styles of play just because they're not this or that. They're not honorable, or they're supposedly not as intelligent or whatever. I think that a lot of people restrict their own understandings of games by refusing to even try certain strategies, and they sort of limit their own toolbox. So I love doing stuff like this personally. It gets you to approach the game in a different way. It sort of expands your arsenal, and you get a little hate mail along the way. It just happens.
A Juice Pirates enjoyer, so I don't know if you should listen to his advice in this case.
For the uninitiated, because this is a Pokemon UNITE podcast, Juice Pirates is a Heroes of the Storm composition where you effectively forego all fighting to just blindly run at enemy structures and just zerg them down.
Like the special strat, actually.
Yeah, and so a normal game of HOTS will probably take you like 18 minutes. Juice Pirates, when executed right, you're in and out in 7 minutes, baby. You got 0 kills. I had a string where I was playing Juice Pirates in ranked. For like 5 games straight, we just didn't get a kill. And we just won every single game. It's primo degeneracy, if that's how you prefer to call these things. And I love it. I love it.
And in our expose here, for the sake of knowledge and figuring out what can be done and getting the community involved, I want to know exactly how to do this all. So when you say backdooring, my immediate thought is that you are skipping past something. Are you going to goals past the closest one, or is it just that you're circumventing the enemy team?
It's mostly just circumventing the enemy team. It's a little not like, traditional MOBA backdoor, like,
okay.
But there are times where they're like, say I'm top lane and there are 3 enemies in the top lane. I can't just typically walk up and capture if I don't have my ultimate, right? Because they will break it if they are paying attention, and they'll just be like, okay, we got to break this score shield, like get it off so he can't cap. Oftentimes I will literally run across map to the opposite lane, and like those laners are like usually like in a skirmish. They're fighting the enemy laners or doing something. They're not paying attention to me like walking up and capping behind them and then leaving the lane instantly. And I just do that on repeat.
Specifically talking about turning in behind, it is worth noting that I believe you can only turn in at the furthest out
Yes.
turn in spot in a lane.
Okay.
So
Yeah. By
yeah,
what
if the
I
enemy-
mean by behind them is I mean I'm physically behind the enemy laners
Mhm.
at their capture point, but they're too busy fighting or doing something to like recognize that they need to stop me.
Got it.
Because I've had plenty of times where fresh off of Zapdos, right when I started the game, I don't do this anymore, I swear, but we would get a Zapdos and I'd just make a beeline for the enemy core, their final turn in. And then I'd realize, oh, we haven't taken out any of their previous tier 2s, so I can't turn in at their core. So definitely something to think about if you're going to be backdooring. Only turn in at the farthest most out turn-in spot in each lane.
Yeah. I
Oh
mean,
yeah, I've definitely lost games where I'm just like still backdooring and then they do zap and I just lose. I'm like, oh okay, my bad.
so in the zone. Is there any adherence to like holding points for the 2-minute mark with this, or are you just spamming all those points in at all times?
Depends on your pathing. It's like if you are farming and let's say it's like 2 minutes 20 seconds and you have your ultimate up, why not just continue farming to get full points and then just ult to capture for 100 bomb, right? If you have the time and time allows you to do it, sure, get the double point captures. However, if like you just have like 5 or 10 points, like it's not really worth it. You might as well just cap it and then like continue capping other points. I only really go for the double points if it's convenient for me.
This video is shocking.
Oh, I'm literally just running the whole time. Have you seen me fight a single person? You
No.
haven't. I'm running away.
And I see why you're so focused on stealth rocks then, because it's just helping you keep moving. You don't have time to lock yourself into some sort of auto attack animation. You don't care if they get stun locked in it or anything like that.
Exactly.
Yeah,
If I get a kill, that's just bonus.
I'm watching this right now, and for our listeners, Shot is effectively, just like he said, he gets about 5 to 20 points in the enemy jungle, walks up, turns in with score shield, and just leave, rinse, wash, repeat. Or what is it? I can't remember the phrase on the top of my head, but regardless, rinse, wash. And I'm just thinking about this, and I'm like, over the past couple days, I've been playing a lot of The Witcher 3, and I can see Shot himself is also enjoying his own single-player game as well as we get into this. Very little interaction, little the enemy team can attempt to do. They're there. A lot of times there are 2 people defending against these turn-ins, and it just doesn't make a difference. They can't interrupt the turn-in. They can't prevent the entry for the turn-in. They can't prevent the escape, the shell smash, the score shield. A lot of S's, and it's all just, it's like you said, highly uninteractive, but looks so effective.
I'm when I was thinking about what competitive play would look like.
Did you think it was this?
I didn't think it was going to look like this. No, not like this. But I did kind of imagine that competitive players are naturally willing to stop having fun for the sake of winning, and hitting enemy heroes, Pokemon, champions, whatever they may be, is fun. So the self-control it takes to play at a professional level exists. So I figured we'd end up with like more of a defender sort of thing. And I came by and watched your stream yesterday and when you were stacked, and it was really interesting to hear because there was a lot of math going on in the background. Everyone was always tallying up what the score must be in the background. Oh, there goes, you're watching the enemy character's numbers. There goes 34 points. Okay, that puts us at this. And kind of managing your own scoreboard in that way.
Yeah, because the game won't give us a scoreboard, so we have to do it ourselves.
I hate trying to do that, trying to think about who's in the lead or how many they got in. And I have a small, smooth brain, so math is not good. I'm like trying to think, I wish I had a scoreboard.
Yeah, it's actually a problem because sometimes when it like say you lose count, right, and you don't know if you're ahead or behind, but then it goes, it's a close battle. I don't know if I'm ahead or not. Am I down by 3 points or am I up by 3 points? You know what I mean? So like, do I need to go for a Hail Mary, let me cap a few points before the game ends, or should I just defend? I don't know.
I hate that the last call out is at 1 minute too, because often that's like so late. Like, what am I supposed to do with this information now? Because it happens at 1 minute, so then it's immediately like 59, 58, 57. It's like, all right, I have 50 seconds to figure out now with this information you've given me.
It's typically like every minute, so.
They come.
I remember there are specific times.
Are there
that the
specific
call-outs
marks?
occur? Yeah, and I know it's not every minute for the entirety of the game.
I think if
but
I was
do
to
know.
At 1 minute remaining is the very last.
Yeah, I know there's one at 5 minutes, 2 minutes, and 1 minute, and I believe there are a few other interspersed throughout the game, but it's not at a consistent rate the entire time. I just want to note, though, talking about the strat that we were saying, because we just haven't gotten enough of it, that one big thing that I really think gives this an edge is I'm watching you backdoor in at these enemy tier 2 towers, these enemy tier 2 turn-ins, and the logic that I've found so far in my games is pushing those conventionally as a team trying to get turn-ins is a easy one-way ticket to Throwsville. So this seems like what makes this so nuts is the fact that it lets you turn in at tier 2s when otherwise that is really hard to do into super jumps that make defense basically trivial. So not only are you able to get points in, but it's points that are otherwise insanely difficult to pull off, which is effectively a guaranteed points advantage from how I'm looking at it. So that to me, I keep bringing up like, oh, this part seems nuts. This part seems nuts. Well, this part also seems nuts. Like the fact that you're able to get these turn-ins off that under conventional play styles are nearly impossible to do without the assistance of a Rotom or an extremely well executed backdoor or a Zapdos or something like that. And that seems to be the difference maker, in my opinion.
Yeah, I would like to go on record that I would like this strategy to be nerfed into the ground. While I abuse it, I don't think it's good for the game overall.
No, but there's nothing necessarily wrong with a backdoor strategy. Like if we had that pro player kind of mentality where the lanes are covered, someone's always on farm, someone's always investigating. Much like I saw your comms in the gameplay I watched, you were talking about who you saw in the jungle, where they must be now, and being aware that you have to defend a goal. That's great. The problem is once they get to that goal, you're not able to interrupt them. So defending it isn't causing an issue. So
Sorry, you can finish. Sorry.
No, I was about to ask you a new question. So if you had a comment on that, go for it.
Oh yeah, I mean, hold on to your question. Just remember it. Don't forget it. But I'm so concerned. Like, imagine this game like takes off in popularity wise or viewership wise for competitive, and all we see are backdoor Crustle gameplay. Like, that's not exciting gameplay to watch as a viewer. You want to see like the flashy team fights. You want to see the 5v5 just smash your heads into each other kind of gameplay. Like, that's exciting for viewers. It's not very exciting to watch someone run away from someone for 10 minutes.
But
well, there's nothing wrong with if you want something to get removed. Often one of the best ways to do it is to go tell everyone about it.
Yeah.
It's accelerationism is effectively what it is, where you accelerate something getting changed by propagating it. And I know this all too well because there were several different times I made a video like, hey, here's this thing you can do on Tracer. And then like a week later, it gets patched out. Like interactions that have been in the game for years that happened multiple times. So you know what I mean? Like if there's something you want out of the game, somewhat counterintuitively, one of the best things you can do is to spread it.
Yeah, for sure. What was your question, Kyle? No, I agree with you though, Mochrie, 100%.
He's like, get out of here. I'm talking to Kyle.
Well, the good news about this is there's many ways to fix it.
Forget the question.
We don't have to go about like destroying Crustle, for instance. He could be
please
balanced, sure. But okay, but maybe. But like clearly there is other avenues, and I'd be curious how you would go about fixing it, because we could get rid of stacking shields. We could get rid of the score shield in the first place, like that, or just nerf it.
Yeah, I don't think they'll ever remove score shield just because like it's a mechanic in the game. The game's way too young to like remove a mechanic. So I mean, maybe they do, maybe they don't, but I definitely think we should nerf the stacking of the shields, or if anything, make the score shield. I don't know. It's kind of a cool mechanic though, to like be able to shield your teammates and then their score shield is better. Like that adds a depth and complexity to being a support player. Like, right, Kai? Like,
I find it fun when I see him, like I said, like scooting up there and I know what he's going for. I want to add my shield on there. And I feel like I'm part of the play. Like I'm
yeah.
participating.
It's just really complicated because like if you, let's say we change it so that score shield is on top of all the other shields, and once score shield gets broken you can be CC'd or stopped by damage. That's an avenue that you could go, but that removes a lot of the agency from support players in traditional gameplay. That's not Crustle, by the way. That Ninetales trolled and did not auto attack the Rotom. Sorry, I'm watching my own gameplay. But anyway, but it removes a lot of agency from the support players. It removes a lot of like the outsmart mechanics from a lot of different characters. I think it's specifically an issue with characters that have a lot of self shielding or big self shielding. I think that's specifically the issue. I don't know how you would fix it necessarily without like nerfing the amount of shield that score shield gives you, maybe. I really don't know the way forward, honestly.
It sounds like we couldn't get rid of the uninterruptibleness, because then we'd all have to stack CC and we'd really have this restricted pool to even counter this with.
Yes.
So
and then also if you just remove this, like the CC immune or like the you can't stop me from turning in thing, like what does score shield even do at that point? It just gives you a shield so you can take like 2 autos, like
right.
Okay.
Right. And
Maybe
that's
it's more of a Crustle problem than anything, because I don't think another character abuses the way Crustle does.
Yes and no. I've seen the Japanese team do Crustle and Machamp backdoor strat. Where
Machamp has similar speed boosts and
he has submission
around unstoppable as well, which is very similar to Crustle, so I could see it.
He just doesn't have the big self shield, so he has to be like smarter about it, but you can coordinate with the Crustle player on opposite sides of the map where you split the enemy team's attention and you're just like getting caps off for free. So other characters can do it. It's not just a Crustle thing, but Crustle is definitely like the main abuser of it because of the self shielding.
It's more, I don't know the word I want to use, not prevalent, but like it's worse with Crustle because he has that big self shield.
It's exacerbated.
Yeah, he doesn't need help. He doesn't need to so much coordinate with anybody. Like he can just do it.
Mochrie, that was so attractive what you just said.
Talk to me after the show.
Is this a bigger, I don't want to call the Zapdos an issue, but most people are focused on the Zapdos problem. This needs to be fixed first.
Honestly, in my opinion, yes, I think this needs to be fixed before Zapdos 100%. I have sat alone in my room multiple nights just going, do I continue playing Pokemon when Crustle's in the game? And that's a scary thought to have with a game so young. But I mean, I know that the Pokemon company and Tencent can like easily fix this somehow, some way. Like the game's so young, they have so much, like they can do whatever they want. They're probably working on it right now because people are complaining about it. So I mean, I don't know. I'm concerned about this strategy. I think it needs to get fixed. However, a lot of like, Crustle diehards or competitive teams that really like this strategy might say that I'm a moron and I need to adapt and get with it. So
you're making excellent points though, and we've all had our favorite character. I remember, for Here's the Storm lovers, the S of Joan Li Ming orbs, and went,
oh god,
surely
was it
people,
Joan or Johan?
Something like that, right? But either way, a vacuum on a range character, and I, enjoying the strategy, said to myself, well, people can learn to counter me. This isn't my problem. Yes. Oh, it becomes a problem when you start taking the fun from other people, and I think we've highlighted that really well, and I'm curious to see what they're willing to do. We're approaching the mobile release, and there's several questions in the air, and a lot of people are waiting to see if there are big enough adjustments that show that investment. And currently with 2 really big balance patches, I think that things are looking pretty solid for this.
Speaking of patches, we should have the vague, mysterious patch notes soon, sometime today, right? Since it's Blastoise tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's either going to be today or like when they release him, they'll release the patch notes same time. So
Yeah, 'cause
who knows?
previously they did it the day before. So
Okay, so
they don't
going
have-
by
they don't have to
history,
do anything, but following the pattern,
Yeah.
I would assume it'll be soon.
We just need some like specific person who understands Japanese to come through and translate all of the actually good patch notes that the Japanese players get for us.
Well, we got that
And-
already.
what do you mean
though.
you don't like move changed?
We actually have some community members who are Japanese speaking who translated the last one. So
Yeah, shout out Mr. Chia.
Yeah.
I do think the patch notes are really, really funny. Or move upgrade, yeah, that's what it's called. Like they
Absolutely.
just put like, for example, let's say Crustle. I know they didn't do this. Like they gave us like actual numbers, but let's just say Stealth Rocks. There's like Stealth Rocks move upgrade. I'm like, what does that mean? Does it like, did you decrease the cooldown? Did you increase the cooldown? Like what happened? Did the damage go up? Did the damage go down? Like what happened? I don't understand what upgrade means.
one was like effect changed. That was my
Well, affect
favorite.
what?
Changed? Just
Changed, yeah. Okay.
What?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I wish the patch notes gave like more in-depth information, because like coming from a MOBA background, and I'm sure all of you could attest to this, like we literally obsess and study patch notes and be like, okay, this got changed by like 5 damage, this is now a viable ability to take. like we're such nerds about it that like having in-depth patch notes is super important to us.
Well, and patch notes become content in that way because
Yeah, true.
the meta shifts.
Yeah.
It's not just about like. I think this definitely is birthed from more of a RTS and MOBA area, because World of Warcraft, for instance, they come through and nerf your stuff and you go, well, I mean, I'm not going to level up and get all my gear and throw away 3 months of work because you've lowered my Mind Flay damage. Oh, and that's, you call it the nerf bat and you move on with your life. Here, though, we're always jumping heroes and Pokemon.
To be clear, the patch notes are still content in this type of game as well. It's just rather than giving analysis right off the top, as soon as you see the patch notes, there's an element of mystery to it first.
Speculation comes into play.
First, you must solve these riddles 3 before you can see the patch note.
Yes.
And another avenue for them to improve that.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll get better about it as time goes on, because like the more players that get in, especially with like mobile release coming, a lot of more competitive players are probably going to enter the scene, because like you're going to get mobile players from like Arena of Valor, Wild Rift, like people that are like looking for a new home, that have either been scorned by their game or they're just burnt out from their game, and we're going to get a lot more competitive players. The competitive scene hopefully will boon. The casual community will hopefully boon with the increase of player base, and so I feel like a lot more people are going to be demanding more information, like what was changed. Just tell us exactly what you changed and we'll be happy. Which I think that they will change their philosophy on how patch notes go moving forward, especially if the competitive scene is taken care of, and by taken care of I mean like supported.
Right now, we're
Hot's competitive scene was taken care of, if you know.
Yeah, in one way, you're right. It was taken care of. Taken out back, more like.
Hey, take care of them. You know?
and we're currently at maybe the acquaintance phase where you're doing the not gonna make it out tonight. There's no sorry. There's no explanation. We're just, you're not gonna make it tonight, and the move was changed. We don't know you that well, and in time. I can see that.
I definitely feel like the devs and maybe the Pokemon company are like just trying to see if this game can be successful still. And I definitely like am all in. Obviously, I have no life. I just play this game all day, every day. I believe that it can survive and be like a really good game, a really like popular game. And I think the IP in Pokemon itself will just carry.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up on Pokemon, man. I just watched Detective Pikachu like 5 days ago, and and I get to play all these Pokemon that I grew up with. Like there is value in that, you know. And I felt like that was part of why people liked Heroes of the Storm, because I gotta mention it 30 times every episode. Is like, you got to grow up and be like, oh, I played as Thrall in Warcraft 3 and now I can be him again. This guy that I've been seeing for years, I can play as him. Like, that's so cool. And that's me with Pikachu. Although Pikachu does say its own name literally every single action that it takes. So it can be a little overboard. You load into the game, Pikachu. You attack every single time, Pika. You die, Pika, every time.
It's in case you forget its name. Come on. We definitely haven't grown up with it. We got to remember that its name is Pikachu.
Yeah. See, for some of these characters, they just have like 8-bit, 16-bit growls and groans.
I kind of like it though. Not gonna lie.
It grew on me.
Cries.
It's
They're called cries, and I really like those better than the anime voice.
It's just funny in contrast, because for all these other characters, it's like, oh yeah, we just had a voice actor come in and groan 1 or 2 times, or oh, we just had made this like MIDI file or whatever that just outputs like a scream, and then the Pikachu voice actor over here is just overworked, just has like all these different lines they have to do for this one character, and I'm curious to see if we'll ever see a more vocal character, but I find the disparity funny.
I am impressed that Blissy's beeps sound a lot like Blissey.
I wouldn't know.
I have no idea, dude. Blissey gives eggs, all right? What do I expect it to sound like? Danny DeVito? Dude, I have no idea.
That would be funny.
Blissy's kind of OP though. Let's not lie.
That's good. That's good, because I know we already trashed Gengar today by not mentioning him in the jungle, so at least I can have my Blissey moment.
Blissy's pretty good. I think she's like a super good support.
So you're talking about Blissey, but I know Kiyberries isn't so hot on that character.
I think it's just because of who I play with might be the problem, but yeah, I'm not a Blissey enjoyer.
So it's complicated. Eldegoss is definitely like the better like general support, like will fit in every single team composition no matter what. Where Blissey is more like, hey, I'm duo queued with the 80 carry jungle player. Like, I'm gonna pocket this guy and give him attack speed.
I'm playing solo queue so much, or when I do duo, it's usually with the tank. So if I don't trust my 80 carry jungler, or they turn out to be bad and I'm playing Blissey, I feel like so useless. I'm like, all right, here we go. Here's your helping hand. Here's your Bliss assistance that we're not gonna call a Blistance. And you're all buffed up. You got the eggs around you. Let's go. And then they just turn and run away. They're like full health, fully buffed up, and they're just like, no, I'm scared. I gotta go. And I'm like, great. Now what do? I have 3 eggs with a super long cooldown. Like, great, awesome.
I will.
Happens a lot in solo queue.
Oh
I
yeah,
feel
for
like
sure.
In a more organized fashion, if you're duoing with the carry or in like a 5-stack or a 3-stack, it's probably really good. But for me, all alone out there, I can't.
I will say one thing about Blissey. She has one of the most fun mechanics in the game with her ultimate. Say you have a Lucario or a Greninja, they like ult or dash into the back of the team, and Blissey goes bowling through the enemy team. She ults, and you just try to hit as many people as possible, and I literally call it bowling. It's so much fun, and you do a lot of damage. It's actually surprising how much damage. How do I say it, Mochrie? Blissistance? Blistance?
Bliss assistance, or as I like to call it, a blistance.
A blistance, that's what it is. I know it tilts Kai, so I'm gonna jump on the bandwagon.
Every single chance I get, dude. She's always like, I've got my ult, and I'm like, what's that one called again? Or whatever in games. Or she'll be like,
it's because we love you, Kai. 100%.
Yeah, I almost have Bliss assistance, and I'm like, I'm not familiar.
I'm not familiar.
For rash, like I'm gonna hear like a commercial, and they're gonna be foot rash. Try a Blistance today. Like, I don't like it.
Well, as we kind of actually spread into the more general talk, because there's a lot of non-Crustle players out there. If you were to,
Are there?
No, I played Crustle all weekend, actually, not even knowing this, but that's not totally what I did. If you were to give us kind of the meta rundown. How are things looking in other departments, other Pokemon? What is the best of the best across held items?
Yeah,
Pokemon
sure. Yeah, sure. So let's talk about like team comps real quick. If we were gonna do like a meta team comp minus Crustle, Crustle doesn't exist. Like, let's just pick other characters. Typically you're gonna want a tank, a mage, a melee, a support, and an AD carry jungler. That's typically the meta right now in North America, at least. So typically you'd have Greninja or Cinderace in the jungle. You'd have Snorlax as your tank because he's objectively the best tank in the game. Sorry, Slowbro, and sorry, like X's or Crustle players. Snorlax is just better. Then support, you're usually going to take Eldegoss or Blissey. And then for melee, you're going to take Lucario every single game, and you're going to have no fun as the melee player because all you ever do is play Lucario every single game, and you're going to complain about it on stream every single day. Cough, cough, that was me on my competitive team. And then, also for support, you could also take Wiggly instead of Blissey or Eldegoss, but I like the sustain. And then for mages, typically it's going to be Cramorant or Ninetales. Like every single game. You could do Gardevoir, but she takes a little bit long to come online. She can get bullied in lane really easily, where Ninetales and Cramorant don't really have that issue in lane. So that's why they're typically the more like go-to mages. I think I covered all the rules, right? Yeah, that's all the rules. So like that's typically like the quote-unquote meta team comp. Tank, mage, AD carry, support, and melee.
And it's worth noting, I will throw this out there for the chat, because discussions about the top competitive meta, there tends to be like a little bit of confusion and murkiness and whatnot about this. This stuff is not mandatory to get master, okay? You do not need to strictly follow a certain meta to get up there. This is something that especially comes up in MOBAs a lot, where people see something in competitive, or they hear their favorite streamer say this or that character should be run here or there, and they sort of follow that as gospel. But in reality, we are talking about a sort of ideal best case scenario that typically applies to high ranks, and it's not like this stuff is mandatory to get in low ranks or out of low ranks, or that you need to strictly adhere to it at all times. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. It's definitely just kind of like a guideline or a cheat sheet, and be like, I kind of want my comp to look like this as close as possible, but it's not like super mandatory. Honestly, the lower rank you are, it's literally just more about who's most comfortable on their Pokemon. That's it. Whoever can actually do the things that their Pokemon is designed to do, that player will typically win in lower ranks.
You
So I'm
mentioned
playing in Master, and I'm like happy if we have a tank at all. Period.
Yep.
I have so many no tank games that like.
Well, no one likes to play
I'm
it.
like, awesome guy, get in here.
Yeah, even though like you don't really want a Slowbro, you'd rather a Snorlax. You're like, at least it's a tank, you know?
Yeah, like every day.
Yeah, it's just nobody wants to play tanks. They think they're boring, which is funny because Snorlax is like kind of OP. And like you can just do whatever you want half the time and you still do damage and nobody wants to play him. Like, name a better laner name a better lane than Snorlax Cramorant. How do you lane against that? You can't secure anything. Cramorant will throw a whirlpool down, and then if it gets low enough and like you're not really you're not completely sure if you're gonna get the camp or not, Snorlax just tackles it and it's gone. Like, you can't do anything against that lane half the time. So I just think the character is nuts, and I don't know why people don't play tanks. But
Snorlax to me feels reminiscent of like the concerned Padme meme talking to Anakin, where Anakin's like, I'm gonna add a tank to the game, and it's like, oh cool, so they're not going to nuke people, right?
Right? Yeah.
Right?
you know how many times I've stolen Dreadnought just by jumping on it as Snorlax? Like, it's ridiculous how much damage that character does.
Yeah, he's area control, he's permastun, he's tankiness. self heal, damage, just
Andy is a dad bod. Ugh, so good.
I've never felt so represented as when I saw my body type accurately portrayed as Snorlax in Pokemon Unite. But regardless, like I personally think that Snorlax and Crustle are two of the biggest offenders for just having really overloaded kits. They just do a lot. Whereas like other characters, it's like, what do you do? And it's like, oh, I stun a person, or like I do sustain damage, or this or that. And then you ask, what do you do, Snorlax? What do you do, Crustle? And they're like, well, I do this and this and this and this and this and this. And
I
this.
do
And it just
everything.
goes down the line. Yeah.
So
You get like you get the meme of like baby Gamora going like, and what do you do? And it's Crustle Snorlax go everything.
oh, nice. You mentioned that the jungle's kind of changing up in that sort of more meta way, and we're putting our ranged carry types in there, at least how we would kind of assume them from other MOBAs.
So I wouldn't say it's like a change. I think the competitive scene has done it since the beginning of the game. The reason why competitive players typically put like an 80 carry like Greninja or Cinderace in the jungle is because one, attackers get their ultimates faster than every other role in the game. They get it at level 9, where other characters oftentimes, I would have jumped that if I didn't get slept, by the way. Oftentimes, sorry, I get really distracted by my own gameplay. I'm like, oh, that was.
I'm over here desperately trying to explain to our audience, which is the vast majority audio only, and Shot keeps making references to what's happening in the video.
It's not my fault. I suck so much. I gotta call it out. Anyway, so 80 carries get their ultimates faster than most other roles in the game. Like tanks get them at 10, most melees get them at 10. Whereas 80 carries and attackers in general get their ults typically around level 9. And so getting level 9 is possible before the first Dreadnought if you farm like super efficiently, or that your team stalls the Dreadnought fight while you go finish your level 9 upgrade. Once you have the level 9, your character is infinitely better. You guys know how your move speed goes up, your attack speed goes up after you use your ultimate. Well, imagine you show up to a Dreadnought fight, nobody else has ultimates, you pop your ultimate, and then you just start fighting people. What do? They're just gonna die. Typically, you'll see 2 80 carries in competitive team, both have their ultimates, and it's whoever uses their ultimate first, better get a kill. Or multiple kills, because if you don't get a kill, the other 80 carry is just gonna ult back and just win the fight. And typically, I prefer Greninja in this situation, just because Greninja has technically more damage output with his melees, plus he has surf resets, and I just feel like the character is overall better than Cinderace. He has more potential. Cinderace is more consistent, where Greninja has more pop-off potential. And so that's typically why you run 80 carries in the jungle. You want them to get escalated earlier. You want them to be like super high level, faster than everybody else on the team, because they can put out the most value in a team fight when the team fight comes.
That makes perfect sense. I think naturally, maybe we all sort of assumed, well, that's a melee assassin-y type. Clearly, they need levels, so let's put our Zeraora in there. Let's put Lucario in there and let them get those levels instead.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of sucks because like it kind of deletes the speedster role, you know?
I can see that.
Yeah, like why would I want Gengar when I could just play Greninja? Why would I want Zeraora when I could play Greninja? Like, you know, like copy paste any speedster. Why not play Greninja? You know,
as a Cinderace main who faithfully played it nearly exclusively to master, I myself am like, every time I play Greninja, I'm like, oh, this character's just busted. Surf is way too good of an ability. He just hits so hard. But the thing is, at the end of the day, I've got to worry about having 3 different dashes because my attacks, my third hit boosted attack is a dash, and so is Surf, and so is Smokescreen. And I got to worry about the fluidity of all my abilities and all that, and weaving them all together, and a moving camera and whatnot. Or I could just stand at the edge of the team fight and just hit A bunch of times as Cinderace and no thoughts, head empty, a.
Yeah,
And then, the
100%.
enemy team is dead. So
Yeah,
that.
Greninja, like I said, Greninja has higher potential, but is way harder.
Yeah,
That's
and
all
I
it is.
do think that there is something to be said about that. I'm a firm believer that, yeah, and I say this as someone who mains Tracer, a character that really can sort of strain you mentally at times, thinking about all the matchups and having all this mobility and everything, is that sometimes you need some games off. Like, you cannot play, at least for me in my experience, you cannot play a super taxing, highly complex, demanding character every single game and stay at peak performance. You need sometimes to just, in my opinion, just no thoughts, head empty, turn everything off, and just play something much more simple. It lets you get a sort of mental reset, and you're not tiring your fingers out or anything. And I think that makes a real difference.
I mean, you could argue you could just not play the game instead and get the same effect. But
That's
I
not an
mean,
option if you're streaming, right?
no,
Like...
I mean, no, I agree with you. But like as a competitor, say I'm not streaming, right? Like if I feel like I'm lagging on my like Greninja mechanics because like I've just been putting too much attention onto it or I've been playing it too often. What you said just now, if you weren't streaming, is literally the same thing as taking like a 30-minute break. Of just like, I'm not going to play the game. I'm going to come back and have my mind refreshed. Okay, Greninja mechanics, got it.
Well,
But what you are doing is effectively the same thing, but you're still playing the game.
Yeah, because like this also matters for almost any esport. Fatigue is going to be a factor because you don't play your games in a vacuum. You're not, okay, let's play this one round of competitive play and then we'll all go home, we'll all sleep, we'll come back fully refreshed and play the next round. No, I've seen teams, like for example, I saw a Rocket League team that played every single game in collegiate to 7 games, the full series every single time, all the way through. I believe even went into losers bracket, so they had more games to play all the way through the finals. And they were able to stay, just in spite of all those games, less fatigued. Like, that is absolutely a major factor.
That team clearly wasn't me. ASU undefeated, baby. Let's go.
So just the ability as a competitor to be able to play the game for several hours straight in a tournament format and still be at your tip-top best shape at the very end when it matters the most in finals, that is something that is relevant and is going to matter, is being able to manage your energy levels and your sort of mental strain.
No, I agree 100%. Keeping track of your mental fatigue is like 20% of being a competitor or even a streamer.
Oh yeah.
The rest is just grind.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we got
Speaking of the mood meter.
The mood meter is very helpful.
Yes.
We're going to talk about that.
Friends.
We're going to talk about that on a future episode. But as this episode starts to wind down, we got a lot of questions from people wanting to know how to do these climbs, how to play. But let's start on the opposite end of things with Mr. Chia, who asks, what is the worst Pokemon to try to rank up with?
All right, please hold. Let me look at roster.
The one you don't enjoy.
The one I don't enjoy, or the objective word?
That's my answer to the question.
Oh,
the
well,
Pokemon to try to rank up with is the one you don't enjoy. Okay, you can climb on any Pokemon you want. I guarantee you can make it to Master. And if you do not enjoy the experience, you are not going to be actively thinking about how to improve, and you're not going to have a good time. And that's the worst of all.
That's all wholesome and good, but what we want is a scandalous hot take.
You want to know what's funny? Kiyberries actually, in my opinion, got Masters the hardest way possible. Eldegoss main. You have negative agency in any like random solo queue lobby. Like you are just kind of there to like heal up people.
Yeah.
But like
whole life.
Yeah, but like if your team just walks in and dies, how do you stop them? You don't. You just kind of blindly follow them and pray to God it works out. So I think Eldegoss is objectively the hardest character to solo climb to Masters with. Just because you have no agency, you can't take control of the game yourself, and you are relying on your teammates to do the job for you while you support them.
And I say it could be worse. It could be Blissey. Because while that's all true of any healer, the thing with Blissey is she has less raw healing output. So a lot of times when they're going into a bad fight and you're like, this is about to go badly, Blissey, I feel like, has less ways to fix that. At least Eldegoss can heal through most things. Blissey, you're enabling one person, and if they don't pop off, your heal is so small and it has such a long cooldown that you can't even heal through it. You can't even power through.
Well, yeah. I would agree, but I definitely just think it's healing supports are the hardest to climb with, just because you have no
healers solo
agency.
queue is certainly
Yeah.
Life
For Blissey, I would like slightly disagree with you. I mean, obviously you're allowed to have your opinion, but I would slightly disagree with you just because, like, if my team wants to unga bunga run at somebody, I could just pop helping hand and hopefully they just wipe them instantly with increased attack speed, increased damage, you know?
hope. That's the hope.
Whereas Eldegoss, my option is they want to unga bunga run at someone, I throw a shield and pray to God that is enough to keep them alive.
There's a lot of praying involved with this.
There's a lot of praying when it comes to healing supports.
That's why they're always priests and MOBAs. Here's a question from Taraz. How impactful do you find held items and their selection level is? Can you climb to high ranks, not necessarily masters, without level 20?
Yeah, 100%. You can definitely do it. I know a guy who is currently doing a challenge with level 1 items only, climb to master. Which, in my opinion, that's a bit extreme. I think you definitely should at least get level 10 on 3 items if you want to climb, just because it's really cheap. Like, if you play the game, you will get 3 items to level 10 really easily. You will get enough tokens, but in my experience, when I did my unranked to masters climb on one stream, I got 2 items to level 20 relatively early on. It wasn't that much of a grind to get them both to level 20, and then like my 3rd item I got to like level 12, and then I think by the end of my stream it was like level 17, or maybe I got it to 20. I definitely think that you don't need 20s, but it dramatically helps because the effect of the item is just infinitely better once it hits level 20. Like Score Shield, for example, let me look at it exactly right now, but it increases the amount of the shield itself based off your percentage health. So if I go to held items really quickly, all held items, Score Shield, and then look at upgrade effects, at level 10 it gives a shield equal to 7.5% of its max HP, but at level 20 it gives 10% of max HP as a shield. That 2.5% is actually pretty big, especially when you're talking about like Snorlax or Crustle. Like 2.5% extra max HP, that's pretty big.
I feel like this take I'm about to make is toxic, but I feel like if you're playing the game, you should be able to have all 3 items to 20 free to play. Not that hard.
Yeah.
I've only bought the battle pass. So I have not invested in item upgrades at all besides the battle pass that you get. And I have like 6 items to 20.
Mm-hmm.
I have items I don't even use because I was just trying something out. Getting them to 20 is not that hard. Getting them to 30, that's hard.
Oh yeah,
But
30 is
20,
ridiculous.
like, come on. Are you like, unless you're only playing like 1 game a day, getting them to 20 really shouldn't be that hard.
Yeah, people will call me a hypocrite because I've spent so much money on the game, but I definitely don't think that this game is pay to win. I spent a lot of money on the game for items purely because I'm going to be playing competitive, and most people will have really high tier items, and stats is stats, right? So like getting an extra like 4 physical protection on my focus band by putting it to level 30 or whatever, that's still a stat that will affect my gameplay a tiny little bit. Competitive players look for like the smallest advantages or the smallest disadvantages that the enemies have. So it does matter at a competitive level, which I kind of think sucks because you do somewhat have to spend money unless you grind all day every day to be like top tier competitive form. But I know, like, if you guys know Goof, Goof's team, I don't think I know there are players on Goof's team that literally don't have level 30s, and they're still the #1 team in North America. So there is no real excuse to say like, oh, it's pay to win competitive wise. Like clearly the #1 team is just better than everybody else. So get over yourself and just get good, kids.
True.
Very true. Dire Human asks, if the central area has been called, but a teammate follows you in and competes for buffs and XP, how do you react?
Depends. Do you want to win or not?
I would
I say this
imagine
all
the
the
assumption
time
is we
with
want to
my-
win.
With my teammates, do you want to win or do you want to be right? Like that's what I tell my viewers. Do you want to win the game or do you want to be you want to be right? Do you want to feel like you won the argument? Because if you want to win, then you just get out of the jungle. Like give it up.
If your goal is to win the game, you just like suck up your pride, go to whatever lane that they should be in, and take over that role. Even if you're not even if you are a unoptimal character, say like you're playing Gengar, and you're like, oh, I'm calling jungle, and then like a Greninja calls jungle and just starts taking your farm. Just go to the lane as Ghastly and pray to God you don't int. Like
Strong agree. Like the strongest agree.
You might land a good tongue and help an engage happen.
yeah, you do one thing. Congrats. You're still Ghastly. You're still useless. I
Doing
threw
our
my
best.
burn on them and did like 5 damage, guys. I did it.
Just reminds me of that soul-crushing moment that we've all had, where you're like 5 minutes in the game and you look over and you still have a Gibble on your
Yeah.
team, and you're
Mm.
like, "What have you been doing?"
Or a Bulbasaur, and you're just like, what's going on?
Dwebble,
Man,
7 minutes into the game. How have you not evolved?
Is there like, so let's say you ended up on one of these Pokemon that are really dependent on farm. Is there like an alternative farm you should take as that Ghastly? Or are you now stealing from the normal lanes thing and you're just causing more issues?
So there's definitely ways of like optimally farming. And when you get put in this situation, say like you're like, let's just use the extreme example of Gengar in lane again. So if you're Gengar in lane, like you got forced out of your jungle, you're trying to do your best to farm up to get to a point where you are Gengar and you can actually do stuff. You want to do your best to last hit all of the minions. Obviously, if you have like another carry in your lane, let's say like there's a Cinderace in your lane. I don't know why your team is drafting Cinderace in lane, but let's just say he's there. That kind of sucks because you want both of you to like accelerate, right? You want both of you to get high levels. So ideally, you end up in a lane with like a support or a tank. That way you can just take all the farm. And then obviously, when you get into this position, you have to be super cognizant of timings of the camps. If you are correctly doing all the clears, there should be like specific timings that each thing spawns. Like bees, they spawn at 850, 720, 550, 420, 250. No, am I right? 420, 250. Yeah, that's right. Okay.
I believe they're all
250.
90 seconds apart,
Yeah.
right? Like it's interesting because a lot of things in the game respawn every minute after they've been killed. They're just on a 60-second timer once the camp goes down. But bees, like you said, are at specific markers within game time.
Mm-hmm. But then also you have to like, if you're obsessed with this farm because like you got put in this position, you also have to acknowledge what is the best way for me to clear each camp so that I am optimally clearing the camps as fast as possible without wasting footsteps. Like, how can I do this the quickest? And it's usually like the neutral camp, you're closest to the enemy safe camp, into your further safe camp, into the back camp, right? And then you can even go up into like your jungle a little bit, steal that core fish if you really hate your jungler at that point, and then jump over to Zapdos pit, grab those core fishes if you can, then come back down, start the neutral camp again, and then repeat the cycle. That's like the most optimal way to lane or farm in lane. Obviously, bees take precedent over everything. The neutral camp then is second precedent because you want to deny the XP from the enemy team as well.
Awesome. Well, we covered a lot of topics today, and that's where we're going to be ending this episode. But before we do any sort of outro stuff, Shot, where can people find you? Where can they find your stuff across the internet?
All right, so I'm working really hard on getting consistent with streaming. Please don't flame me about it. I mean, just kidding. You can flame me about it. I don't care. But you can find me on Twitter. It's twitter.com/shotlonsert, LONSERT. And then on Twitch, it is twitch.tv/shot. Just shot. It's SHOT. Nothing special. I got the sick 4-letter name on Twitch, and everyone's super jealous, and I brag about it all the time.
I couldn't even get Mochrie, man. I had to get Mochrie TV because some dude with 4 followers sniped
so
Mochrie.
Just win dorm, you get to pull some strings.
Okay.
But yeah, so it's just twitch.tv/shot. I'm trying to get more consistent. I try to do like challenges on stream since I don't have a team that I can really grind through rank anymore, because the higher in rank you get, the more likely you are to run into 5-man. So I just try to do like solo queue challenges. I'm probably not going to do like a marathon stream anytime soon because I'm kind of over that for the time being.
Understandable.
But I definitely want to do more challenges, like one-tricking Garchomp, like Kai suggested on Twitter a long time ago, or no items, like stuff like that, or only using battle items that aren't meta, like no full heal, no eject button, stuff like that. If I'm ever doing a challenge, it'll always be free to play. I will never spend money on my accounts that are Smurfs. So just be aware of that. Anyway, it's twitch.tv/shot.
Well done. Mochrie, where can people find you?
Hello. As I was just complaining about a moment ago, I am Mochrie TV is where you'll find me on Twitch, YouTube, and Twitter. That's the big 3 for me. I got a couple other stuff, but that's the big 3. Even TikTok, occasionally post a TikTok or 2, and so does Kiyberries. Where can we find you, Kai?
That was smooth. I wasn't prepared for that. Okay.
Good transition.
Yeah, I know. So I am Kiyberries, Kye berries. Everywhere is Kiyberries. Twitch, Twitter, YouTube. I have 2 YouTubes, one for Heroes of the Storm, one for Pokemon Unite. Yeah, my dog is like, he's serious right now. You can't see him on the stream, but they can see him.
Hurry up on your plug, Mom. Come on. Gosh.
Yeah, also he has an Instagram if you want to see that. Yeah. He's a bad dog. That's a thing. Yeah, come check out Kiyberries anywhere on the internet. Would love to have you. We have dinosaurs and dogs. Yeah. Lost my train of thought. Let's go, Kyle.
Awesome. Thank you all for joining us for this show today. You can find everything about the show, the RSS feed, over at kyleferguson.com. 2 S's.
How many
in
S's,
Ferguson.
Kyle?
2 S's in
Let's
Ferguson.
go.
You can find the show at Aeos Clubhouse on Gmail, as well as Twitter. So email the show, message the show, join our Discord. The best way to find that link is you can search for Aeos Clubhouse in Discord itself, but of course you can use the Twitter as well to find that information. I'm going to press this button because the show is ending. Thank you all for joining us today. Thank you again to Shot for raining information down upon us like the rocks that shouldn't crit. Bye, everybody.
That's MOCHRIETV. I'll see y'all later.
I'm not the safest Smurf flag now. I had known Shot was going to wear that shirt. We could have matched. We could have been